This podcast is not sponsored or supported by any business or organization. The views reflected on these podcast episodes are my own. Please be aware I am not a medical expert, travel agent, or any other kind of expert. Hey everyone, welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. I'm Ashley. This podcast is based off of my blog of the same name, Eat, Explore, Love. It talks about the unique challenges in traveling around the world when you have celiac disease. Due to sort of popular demand, I decided to also record a podcast to delve a little deeper into my travels and the lessons learned along the way. My family was a big Disney family. With my brother being autistic, the only vacations we were able to go on and actually enjoy ourselves would be the times we would get to go to Disney World. Ever since I knew there were other Disney parks around the world, it was a goal of mine to go and visit each and every one of them. So when I was planning my annual birthday trip, I decided I wanted to go and see Disneyland Paris as a way to celebrate the last year of my 20s. For all of the people in my life that judged me or tried to put me down for the experience, I know that you were just jealous. I want to start this off by saying the staff at Disneyland Paris was incredibly accommodating and willing to help wherever they could. But I did not have the same experience that I have had in Disney World in Florida. To be fair, Disneyland Paris did the above and beyond in comparison to most restaurants. Disney World just sets crazy expectations when it comes to their other properties. For activities, I would absolutely live by their app. But the restaurant section, and this was at the time that I went, only showed vegetarian or vegan options, but did not show which places had gluten-free options. If I went to a buffet, someone would come out and show me which foods were okay, but they did take me through it incredibly fast, and it was difficult to keep up, and I just had to cross my fingers and hope and pray that I got everything and understood everything and didn't make any mistakes along the way. Whereas Disney World, you're kind of treated as if you're the only thing that they have to worry about that day. And they slowly take you through and they'll even wait for you to... This is my memory of going through Disney World, where they waited till I put something down that I wanted just to make sure that there was no possible mistakes that could happen. I've never been to Disneyland in California, but I'm really now curious to go and do a compare and contrast of 3 different parks. And I know that there's Disney in Shanghai and Disney in Japan, and I'm really curious to go see how the experience is on all the different Disney properties. So maybe if anybody's willing to give a donation to those trips, or someone's willing to sponsor me to go so I can do that big compare and contrast, I'd be more than happy to do that for you. But as far as Disneyland Paris, I was there for 2 days and 2 nights, and these are some of the places that I was able to eat. I stayed at Hotel Santa Fe, and I was able to get gluten-free bread and gluten-free breakfast options when I requested it. I also went to Cape Cod Hotel and was able to, at their buffet, get some gluten-free options. In the park, some places that I ate at were Walt's Restaurant and Au Chalet de la Marionnette. Au Chalet de la Marionnette only had roast chicken as an option, which I'm not a huge chicken eater. The smell of chicken makes me nauseous. But my brother I know would have loved it. It was the roast chicken and french fries and his favorite meal that he could have. So if that's your cup of tea, perfect. Walt's Restaurant is a very high-end, expensive restaurant and also mainly had roast chicken as an option. But it was another place where you could try some foods out. and had a different variety than you could get in the rest of the parks. It is very expensive though, so just be aware. In the Disney Village, the waiter was very difficult that I had, and he kept telling me no, things weren't gluten-free, and then going and talking to someone and then coming back and telling me that in fact things that I requested for could be made gluten-free. The steakhouse was in the Disney Village, not in the park or at the hotels. So my lesson that I took away from Disneyland Paris, it does seem to be where everybody's willing to figure it out with you. But just leave room for that opportunity as you're going throughout the park. And being that we're talking about the Paris area, I do need to talk about Paris itself. I went to Lulu. I only had one dinner in Paris, the actual city, because I had to get up very early for a plane ride back. I went to Lulu and I attempted to speak French there, and the waitress was so kind. And usually, when I've been to Paris in the past, they haven't been super accommodating when I've tried to speak French. They're just like, okay, weirdo, and just speak English back to me and are annoyed with my attempt. But the waiters and waitresses at Lulu were so nice and were willing to let me try and do whatever I could in French. And then when I hit my breaking point, it was fine to switch over to English. I had at Lulu amazing cheese nachos, and I was able to take dessert to go, which I had for my breakfast the next morning. So recommend Lulu, and if you want the spelling for that, go check out the blog at hieatexplorelove.com. So the best advice I can give to anyone going to visit Disneyland is use their app. It was incredibly helpful, and I was able to plan out my day. I truly don't think you need 2 full days at the park. I think you could do it genuinely all in one very long day. I like going first thing in the morning and then going up until the parks close. You could do both parks in that one very long day. But if you want to break it up, take it slow, absolutely do the 2 days. I enjoyed doing the 2 days because the first day I missed some things, some rides, and I was able to do that on day 2 and then go back on some of my favorites and just take in the park and really enjoy it. So that's what I did, and the app was instrumental in helping me navigate the day where I saw the times for all the rides. I never waited on a ride for more than an hour, but I also was there in April, but before any spring breaks were happening. So I think I hit the timing just right of the off season. I don't know what it's like when it's in the height of tourist season. But again, live by that app. It was incredibly helpful for the activities in the parks. In Paris itself, it was really cool to get to go to the city and go back. I went there for 2 days a few years ago while I was in college. Well, more than a few years ago when I was in college. And I got to see it in the context of it being built up for the Olympics this time, which was really cool. And I didn't like the souvenir shops. The folks there made me feel very uncomfortable, but everywhere else I did not have the issue of the stereotype of Parisians being rude. It's just like being in any other major city to me. I would recommend, because Paris is a large and spread out city, if you want to go and see things, really plan it out so you're conserving and preserving your energy for the day, because I thought, I can easily walk to Notre Dame and then I can go to the Eiffel Tower and it would be all fine, and it's an hour walk between the 2 landmarks, and I thought they were much closer together. So again, Paris is a city I would absolutely plan for in advance. So when I was prepping for my blog posts, and when I look at a city and I think about, okay, what are the different things I can talk about for my lessons of the week when I go here, I originally thought I was going to talk about the cultural differences between Disney World and Disneyland Paris, but I have a story I want to share with you guys that I think will be even nicer to leave this podcast on a nicer note, and it has changed me in a way that I never anticipated. So I was waiting online at Peter Pan, and like I said before, I never waited on a line for more than an hour. And it was fine because on those longer rides, I just read my books on my Kindle, like the true nerd that I am. And when I was online for the Peter Pan ride, because again, I figured I was there aren't many adult rides in Disneyland Paris like there are in Disney World, but I was there. I wanted to go on every single ride just to have the experience. So while I was waiting online for Peter Pan, there was a little boy from the UK behind me, and he was complaining about having to be on the long line. It was estimated to be about a 45-minute wait, which in Disney World, one should be so lucky. But in Disneyland Paris, with the lines tending to move fairly quickly, 45 minutes is a pretty long wait. The parents were getting really angry and starting to get into a heated discussion, and it was about, do I want to hear our kid complain for 45 minutes and get off the line, or should we let the kid think that he could dictate everything? And after about 15 minutes of this discussion, it was starting to escalate, and I get very anxious. I am someone that is an empath, I guess you would describe it, and I very much take on the emotions and energies of the people around me. So when other people are getting anxious and upset, I start to get very anxious and upset. And it's something I'm working on in therapy, but one step at a time. First step is recognizing that that's how I was feeling and why I was feeling it. So anyway, I had to hear this kid a million times say, I don't want to go on this ride. And after the millionth time of hearing him say that, I asked him, why not? He became so embarrassed that someone other than his parents was having to hear him, he hid behind his mom. And my intention was not to embarrass this kid. I just was genuinely curious, and I felt like it was more productive for him to talk it out rather than just be yelling, I don't want to go on this ride. So I think my tone, and that I was incredibly kind in how I said it with genuine curiosity, it helped calm everyone down, and it gave the parents something else to focus on. That one simple question, and not yelling at the kid, not giving anybody a dirty look, just asking and being a human being, took out all of the negative energy that was building up. So the parents and I started chatting, and we were having a lovely conversation, and it came out that they were Manchester United fans. And if you've read past blog posts, you know I've stayed in the city and look back on my time there quite fondly. I even did a tour of the Manchester United Stadium, and I told the family, I said I'm not a football fan, what they would call football, we in America call soccer, and I made a self-deprecating, I guess, joke of I didn't even know David Beckham played for Manchester United until I saw the documentary after I visited the stadium, but I'm sure that they would have appreciated the tour much more than myself. And as I was talking about getting to see the stadium and what I saw at the stadium, I made sure to make direct eye contact with the little boy every time he would sneak around his mom and take a peek at me. And then I asked him, would like to see the photos from my trip? And he looked away, and he was still embarrassed, but that was all that needed to be done. The family started arguing. They would start having more fun conversations, talking about their memories, their travels, and then they would turn to me and they would ask me questions, and it helped make the rest of the line go by even faster and made it much more positive experience. When we were nearing the end of the line, the little boy all of a sudden decided to perk up. He got new energy, and I suppose seeing the end of the line gave him a little bit of excitement, but then he started talking to me about Manchester United. And him and I got to have an awesome conversation, sharing photos and videos and all that other stuff, and him telling about him being able to go see a game in person. And then I was the last person that they cut off at me getting to go on the ride, and they were right behind me. And once I got into the car, they then followed in right behind where my car was, so the little boy was right there seeing me go, and I waved to him, and he yelled, "Bye, lady! Have a great time on the ride!" And then you just hear Peter Pan say, "Here we go!" And off I went. And so that was a little bit of faith, trust, and pixie dust, Disney magic at its finest. And when I got off the ride, I wanted to see if the little boy ended up liking the ride. So I went off and snuck off to the side and so that they wouldn't see me standing there waiting for them. And I saw the little boy skipping off the ride with a big smile on his face, and his parents with smiles on their faces. And it made me feel like maybe I did the right thing butting in. So, it taught me a lesson because I'm a typical New Yorker. I'm a bit grumpy naturally, and I don't really like children. But something about being in Disney brought back a lot of more positive memories of my childhood. And I don't have very many, but Disney reminded me of the few that I have. And I've been through enough at this point to know that the biggest lesson for me is it is correct to meet everything with kindness. With Michelle Obama, she always says, when they go low, you go high. And sometimes I follow what Sunny Hostin, who's an author and a lawyer and a host on The View, she always says, when they go low, you got to go down to the earth's crust. And there are definitely times where that has to be the case. But I believe in what Michelle Obama says. Think what you will about our politics. That is the correct outlook on life and dealing with people. And when that experience validated that, when there were people arguing and having intense conversation, most people, and there was a situation that I had a couple weeks later having dinner with my father in Verona where there were kids misbehaving and people were giving dirty looks, being quite nasty, and it just made the situation a lot worse. Whereas with this kid, I wasn't going to judge the parents. I wasn't going to judge the kid. The kid was being a kid of his age. And all I had to do was treat him like a human being and treat the parents like they were a human being, and it helped everything. So now when I'm at a restaurant and a waiter messes up, I'm reminded of this exact experience, and I meet that waiter with a bunch of kindness. And it helps, because you know what? People beat themselves up enough in their day-to-day life. I don't need to do that as well. And this little boy from Manchester, I don't know if he's from Manchester, but that Manchester United fan on that Peter Pan line in Disneyland Paris taught me that. And I'm very appreciative and thankful. And I absolutely loved my experience and my 2 days there in Disneyland Paris, and all thanks to this little boy. Now for the questions that I ask at the end of every episode. Do I feel the city is safe for those with celiac? Yes. My favorite place to eat? I would say Lulu in Paris. I didn't really have a favorite place in the Disneyland Paris park because a lot of it was roast chicken, and I'm not a roast chicken person. I did find the soup at Walt's restaurant interesting, though, because they had popcorn-flavored soup, and that was different. So I just don't, in good conscience, feel good recommending it since the restaurant was so expensive. Favorite memory from the experience? I think it's the little boy and getting to see the Eiffel Tower sparkle up at night. Is this a city to vacation to or live in? I think Paris is very expensive, so it's nice to just visit because I can imagine the cost of living is quite high and it's difficult to live in. Is this a place to relax or be active? Active. And how are the people? Just fine. I did not have the difficulties for the most part that other people had. So that is my trip to Disneyland Paris and a little bit of my trip to Paris proper. And I hope this inspires you to go and live your little childhood dreams and spread some kindness around. Thanks so much for listening. Till next time. Thank you for joining me this week for all the fun journeys and lessons learned on my big adventure called life. For more information on the different cities discussed, check out the blog posts on hieatexplorelove.com, posted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions or fun stories to share, feel free to reach out at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to eat well, explore the world, and love yourself. See you next time. This episode is produced, scripted, and edited by me, Ashley. Special thanks to Sarah Mientka.